Today, on the Daily Signal Dark Profile, we are diving into one of the most sophisticated, least known cyber espionage units operating on the planet right now. This group has been quietly sitting inside global telecom networks for years, not weeks, not months, years. And almost nobody outside the intelligence community has ever heard the name Salt Typhoon. This is the kind of threat actor that doesn't smash the door down. They slip in through the tiniest crack, take a seat in the dark, and listen patiently for as long as they need. The NSA actually described their behavior as moving like a ghost. And when you see what they have done, you will understand exactly why. Active since 2019, undetected in critical infrastructure and targeting some of the world's most sensitive communications, the cyber espionage unit is redefining what long-term infiltration looks like. So, let's start by answering the first question. Who are they really? Salt Typhoon isn't a random hacker crew. This is a state-backed espionage unit operating under the umbrella of China's Ministry of State Security, the MSS, China's top civilian intelligence agency. Across the cybersecurity industry, they appear under multiple names: Earth S3s, Ghost Emperor, Famous Sparrow, UNC 2286, different names, different campaigns, same threat actor. And what makes them truly dangerous is their mission profile: long-term, deeply embedded espionage. We're talking political intelligence, telecom surveillance, and strategic infiltration across governments and critical industry. Salt Typhoon is the kind of actor that studies a target for months before making a move. They don't just access an organization, they inhabit it. And that brings us to their biggest and most alarming operation so far, an operation that hit the United States harder than most people realize. This is where the story stops being abstract and becomes very, very real. Salt Typhoon managed to infiltrate US telecommunications networks, including major carriers like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, and they stayed inside for more than 3 years. That means call metadata, SMS content, even lawful wiretap recordings were accessible to a foreign intelligence service without anyone noticing. And it gets worse. They didn't just collect data, they specifically monitored communications tied to the high-value US political figures, including individuals involved in the election cycle. The FBI has called this the worst telecom cyber espionage breach in US history. Just imagine the geopolitical leverage you get from quietly listening to the private communications of political leaders. And the real question becomes, how did they get in? Because the answer is not just sophisticated, it's terrifyingly effective. Salt Typhoon doesn't break in loudly. They enter exactly the way real intelligence professionals would. First, they exploit zero-day vulnerabilities in the technology they connect to the world: Microsoft Exchange, Ivanti, Fortinet, Sophos. They are products deployed in thousands of enterprises, governments, and telecom networks. Then comes the second phase, and it's even more dangerous: valid credentials. Salt Typhoon is extremely skilled at obtaining real admin passwords, especially for telecom routers and critical network devices. And they have legitimate access. They don't set off alarms. They blend in. Their traffic looks like normal admin traffic. Their movements look like routine maintenance. And because large telecom networks have massive volumes of activities, spotting this kind of abnormal but not obvious behavior is almost impossible without deep telemetry. But getting in is just the beginning. What they do after gaining access is what makes Salt Typhoon one of the most invisible, longest-lasting espionage actors operating today. And that's where we are heading next. Once Salt Typhoon is inside a network, the real magic begins. This is where they become invisible. They use a strategy known as living off the land, abusing legitimate tools that already exist on every Windows system. PowerShell, WMI, CertUtil. To a security analyst, these just look like normal admin activity. But underground, in the darkest layers of the system, Salt Typhoon drops something far more terrifying: the Demodex kernel rootkit. A rootkit is basically a cybersecurity equivalent of an invisibility cloak. It hides processes, hides files, hides registry keys, it even hides itself. From that moment forward, your system can be fully compromised and your security tools will still say everything is clean. They wipe logs, create fake system services, plant hidden persistence mechanisms, and move laterally using the same tools your own IT staff uses every day. And they do this not for days, not for weeks, but for months and in many cases for years. That's why the telecom breach lasted so long. When an intruder knows how to mimic the environment, they don't need to hide from you. They hide as you. Now, let's talk about their toolbox, because this is where Salt Typhoon's identity becomes unmistakable. Those names sound like something from a sci-fi hacking movie, but every one of them is real and extremely sophisticated. We got JamblePath is a packet sniffer designed to intercept sensitive communications directly at a network level. Call metadata, SMS, even raw traffic streams. Then there's Ghost Spider, a stealth remote access implant that behaves more like an intelligence officer than malware. And finally, SnappyBee, also known as a deed rat, a modular espionage platform that can load plugins like Lego bricks, keyloggers, credential stealers, backdoors, you name it. Combine these with classics like Mimikatz, Cobalt Strike, and advanced DLL side loading frameworks, and you get a threat actor with a fully equipped espionage arsenal, one that can adapt, scale, and evolve inside your target environment. This is not just malware. This is a state-level toolkit engineered for the long game. So far, this might sound like a geopolitical drama between intelligence agencies, but here's the part where it becomes personal. Because the targets Salt Typhoon goes after affect you, even if you're not in cybersecurity. Their primary targets include telecoms across the US, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, government agencies, political campaigns, major tech and cloud providers, energy, and critical infrastructure. Why does it matter? Because if they control telecoms, they control your data. If they monitor political leaders, they can shape geopolitical outcomes without ever firing a shot. And if they compromise tech companies, they can weaponize global supply chains, impacting millions of people overnight. A threat actor like this doesn't just attack networks, they attack trust, they attack stability, and they attack the systems that hold modern society together. And that's exactly why we need to understand how to defend against them. Now, if all of this sounds overwhelming, here's the good news. You don't need a nation-state budget to defend against a nation-state attacker. What you do need is discipline, hygiene, and visibility. So here's the 60-second Salt Typhoon defense playbook, fast, practical, and proven. Patch all external facing systems. Avanti, VPN appliances, Exchange, these are their favorite entry points. 2. Enforce MFA everywhere. A stolen password shouldn't be enough. 3. Segment your networks. Assume breach. Protect high-value systems. 4. Hunt for PowerShell and WMI anomalies. If you don't normally use these tools heavily, someone else might. 5. Audit your routers and firewalls, especially Cisco and Fortinet. 6. Disable unused accounts. Every dormant account is a free backdoor. 7. Monitor outbound traffic, because that's where espionage becomes visible. If you apply just these fundamentals, you dramatically shrink the attack surface Salt Typhoons relies on. But there's one last piece to the story, and it's the part I want to leave you with. Salt Typhoon is not going away. They are patient, disciplined, and backed by one of the most powerful intelligence services in the world. What we are witnessing is the future of cyber conflict, silent intrusions, long-term espionage, and strategic manipulation of global communications. And if you want to understand where cyber warfare is heading, these dark profiles matter more than ever. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and explore the rest of the Dark Profile playlist, where we expose the world's most advanced threat actor. Stay safe, stay aware. I'm Max, Point Break Security, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Daily Signal.